20.3 Deploy web applications in Tomcat. In this video, I want to talk about the general Java web application deployment problem. In this video, I do not have time to show you how to deploy a simple Java web application because we only have a little more than 10 minutes. So I talk about the basic knowledge about web application, the deployment issue. All right, yeah. When we talk about web application deployment, deployment, right? So we look at the production situation, the real world production situation. So not development situation. Because for development, this is not an issue. For development, usually we use IDE to do the development. IDE has its own internal environment setting. That internal environment setting is completely different from the real world production server environment setting. Different. Yeah. So for the IDE setting, it just use some fast way to show you the result of the web application. That's it. Yeah. It uses its internal special way to organize your resources in your web applications and then run it and show you the result. It may not be the same way you run Java web application in the real world. Yeah. All right, so here I want to give you basic knowledge about the real world production case deployment. Yeah. All right, so when we look at that case, there are two ways in the real world deployment. All right. Yeah. The first way, let me just call the folder way. Yeah. You saw it in our first in-person class. I show you, so I gave you example, Duke example, right? So I provide you a folder containing all the resources in that web application. Yeah. All the resources in a folder, yeah. In a folder, all right, yeah. Okay. Then how to deploy? Very simple. Just copy the folder into that document root. Yeah, remember the concept? Document root. For Tomcat, we know the name of the document root, right? Web apps, lowercase. Okay? Copy into that folder. That's all you need to do. Okay. So then you start Tomcat server. Then you bring up a web browser. Type URL. Here, let me just review. Type URL. Oh, all right. Let me still use that Duke example. How about that? Duke example. Yeah. Duke example. Okay. To show you the folder way deployment. All right. So you drop in that folder. Yeah. start Tomcat. You know how to start Tomcat, all right? Bring up web browser or start a web browser. Okay, then type URL. What URL? So type the URL. All right. Yeah. So let me write http://localhost default port number 8080 for Tomcat. All right, then the folder name, the default web application name is the folder name, Duke. Yeah, so here, let me use the space here, Duke. That's the folder name. Then after Duke, what do you type? What do you type? You don't need to type anything. So you leave it blank, or you just type enter. But when you type enter, what page do you see? Default page. The default page we call the welcome page. You will see the welcome default page. Yeah. This welcome page, this concept, later I will spend a lot of time to explain this welcome page. Now, from its name, you know that welcome page. Okay, default welcome page. Okay, yeah. So the users by default, they see the first page of this web application, the welcome page. Yeah. All right. So that is the first way, folder way. Yeah. Second way, I didn't mention the second way in our first in-person class, but here, so let me talk about that. Also very simple. Yeah. As simple as the folder way, but it has its own disadvantage. It has its own advantage. Okay, so let me describe it. The second way is called wall way, W-A-R wall way. What's the meaning of W-A-R? Yeah, you can guess the meaning. W refers to web. AR refers to archive. So it is a web archive file. Web archive file. WAR, it is a file type. The type of WAR, archive file. Do you have any experience about archive file? Yes, zip file, right? Yeah. For example, you're familiar with the zip file. Zip file, it is a archive file with that zip format. Yeah. Do you know the jar file, JAR? Java archive file, .jar file, another archive file. Okay, so you may have several different types of archive files. Yeah. Here, for Java web applications, so that Java technology creator, so they create this special type of archive file for web application deployment. Yeah. So basically, let me still use the Duke example. We need to archive this Duke folder. Yeah, we start from that Duke folder. Yeah. Okay. So we start from this Duke folder. Then we use some special tool to archive it. Special tool to archive it. What kind of tool you can think about? How do you create a zip file? How do you create a zip file, right? You need some software tool to create it, right? Zip file. Here, to create a WAR file, we need some similar archive tool. Yeah. Here in Eclipse, we can export our web application as a WAR file. In Eclipse, we can do that. Okay? Yeah. So in our second in-person class, if I have time in class, I will show you how to do it. Okay? If I cannot find the time in class, I will do that using the offline video to do it. Yeah. All right. So we use some special tool. We can create Duke. We use the same name .war file. Okay. Yeah. All right. So now this is a file. This is a file. Okay. Yeah. If this is a file, you can send it by email, right? Yeah, because you can send a file from different locations. Yeah. If it's a folder, you cannot, right? Yeah. So here the convenience is people can send this file just using the usual file way to different servers, different Java servers. Then at the receiver side, it can be deployed easily, directly. Yeah. So that is its advantage. Okay. All right. So this is the deployment way. Two different deployment methods. Yeah. The next topic I want to talk about, hot deployment concept. Deployment. That concept. Hot deployment concept. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. In our first in-person class, I tried to show you that, but it was not successful. Yeah. The reason, I think there is some problem. Yeah. There is some reason. Yeah. Here I just let you know some possibility. Yeah. So here let us compare two ways to deploy Java web applications. Cold deployment and hot deployment. All right. Hot deployment, we know, with server running, right? With server running, so we do not need to shut down the server and then do the copies, so then restart the server. We just drop the web applications into the server. Then after some time, you will see the web application, newer versions of web application running. Yeah. All right. Code deployment, you have to stop the server first. Then you do the copies. So then you restart the server. Then you see the outcome. Okay. All right. But so there is a problem. Yeah. Think about in the real world situation. If one web application is running, older version application is running, then your team working on this web application, you have a newer version, then you do the hot deployment to replace the older version by the newer version. You will see you may have some problem. If some users still use the older version, then when you switch to the newer version, those users may get data loss, interruption. Yeah. Some problems may occur for the hot deployment. So for that reason, this is not a safe way. Not a safe way for production case. For production case, it's not safe. For development case, it's okay because development, no users are using your web application, right? Only for single user, you as a developer, right? But for production case, when you have many users, they are using this web application, then you switch to a new version. Something unexpected could happen. So that's not good. So that's probably the newer Tomcat version disable this hot deployment. Because many companies will still use Tomcat as their production server. If they have this feature, then those companies may do hot deployment. Then they may experience some really bad outcome. That's possible. Yeah. So for that, possible problem, this hot deployment could be disabled. Could be disabled. If you want to enable it, you can. You can change the setting inside your Tomcat configuration file. You can enable it, but by default, it is disabled. So you are not encouraged to use this way. You are not encouraged to use the hot deployment way. It's not safe in general. All right, so let me stop here. So that is the basic knowledge about deployment problem of Java web applications.